All right, kids. So in this video, I'm going to try to share a part of my brain with you. I'm going to try here. So in the coming videos, when we talk about trig equations, I'm going to be asking some kind of odd questions. I'm going to be asking for the 30-degree angle that's in quadrant 2. All right. Obviously, it doesn't make sense because quadrant 2 is from 90 to 80. But what I mean by that, it's the angle in quadrant 2 that kind of corresponds to the 30-degree angle. All right. So there's my 30-degree angle. And I want to draw or find the angle that matches that in quadrant 2. Now, we've already talked about this in the past. This is reference angles is what this is. So with reference angles, you were asking the question, what is the angle created from your terminal side to the x-axis? So like if I had this quadrant 2 angle right here, the reference angle would be from where they terminated straight down to the x-axis. So it was always between 0 and 90, right? So the way that we found that, we had formulas for each of them. For quadrant 2, it was 180 minus theta. For quadrant 3, it was theta minus 180. And I'm not going to be using these, right? Although you could. I tried to develop a feel for each of these angles, and it there's a way of mapping from each one to another, right? So back to this original question here, the 30-degree angle that's in quadrant 2. So what I do is I start from my x-axis, and I think about in the quadrant 2 direction. So I'm going to head towards quadrant 2 like that. I'm just going to draw a 30-degree angle. Well, the 30-degree angle would be about like that. Hopefully you can tell the difference between a 30 and a 60-degree angle. And so where that leaves off is right here at 150. And so the 30-degree angle that's in quadrant 2 would be 150 degrees. All right, the 30-degree angle that's in quadrant 3, right, I would draw it downwards instead, like that right there. And that would be 210. If I were looking at the 60-degree angle, that's in, let's say I was doing the 60-degree angle that's in quadrant 4. So I would start from my x-axis on that side, and I would draw a 60-degree angle. So 60-degree angle looks something like that. So we're just going to go from there straight down about 60 degrees, which is right there. And that's my 60-degree angle, which would match 300. Now, this particular chart is kind of nice because it gives you all these reference angles color-coded. All right, obviously, I think it's obvious. The ones that are 45 degrees, those are not that hard to come up with. If I was talking about the second quadrant angle that matches 45 degrees, I don't think you're going to get those confused. It's the ones in the middle, right? It's the ones that have the pi over 4 on all of them. So those are not that hard to keep up with. But the other ones, they're all color-coded for you. So 30, 150, 210, and 330, they're kind of outlined for you. Same goes for the 60-degree angles. 120 corresponds to 60, 240 corresponds to 120, and then 240 corresponds to 300. All right. The way that I kind of remember them, besides drawing the 30-degree angle like I did, which is fine, it works that way. I also like to think of it in terms of reflections, right? So if I know that I'm dealing with a 60-degree angle, right? And let's say I'm trying to find that same 60-degree angle, but I want it to be in quadrant 3. What I do is I take that point right there where I left off. That's my sine or my cosine. And I will reflect it across the y-axis first, like that. All right, so I'm still at the same height. I'm still at the same height, but I'm also still the same. I'm still the same distance left or right. All right, and then I'm going to reflect it again. So I'm going to reflect it again, but this time across the x-axis. All right, so it keeps my orientation the same. I'm still the same distance, as my 60-degree angle. I've still got the same left and right distance this way, and I've still got the same up and down distance as well. My up and down distance is quite large here, but that's the way that I think of them. I can kind of map it to the left. I know that's 120, and then I map it down, and that's how I get to my 240. But try to develop a sense of where these angles match up to each other. If you just want to memorize the colors and stuff, go for it. Or if you want to try to memorize like a pattern within the numbers, you could do that too. All right, 60 to 120, that's doubling. 120 to 240, that's doubling. You could do it like that. But try to get a sense for those, because whenever I talk about it in the next videos, boy, I just kind of take it for granted. All right, there you have it.